So on this episode of misogyny, this is Captain. On this episode of beating women, let's beat them down. Let's talk about this DEG, baby. So, obviously I released the video up on the channel a few days ago, and it's got some decent traction. But you want to have a bigger conversation regarding it because there's a lot to be said with it. So I know your favorite pastime is just destroying women. So just give me your thoughts
On the back.
on the whole situation. I mean, what do you think?
I don't destroy women. I destroy women from the back.
Oh shit.
Okay. Okay. There's a lot. I get that there's a lot of rhetoric on both sides, but I think that there are some nuances that people are not really discussing concerning the WNBA players. And to a certain extent, when you're talking about Angel Reese, you've played in the league 1 year. Like, you haven't done anything. You're on a rookie contract. Chill out. Okay? That's number one. But I just think that there's some things that we need to factor in that I don't think too many people are talking about when it comes to these ladies demanding more money than they generate. So I saw a lawyer put up a video. I think his name is Nate the Lawyer, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
We'll put a link to that particular video in the description. But if everything was even, all things being even, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the WNBA were in the black. Let's just say, right? Now, the players are black, but the balance sheets are not.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at the structure of the league, because they don't inherently generate interest and revenue, over the years to keep the league going, they've had to go out and get investors who need to get return on their investment. So the NBA is solely owned by the league and its owners.
Right.
So when they go to when they go to the table for collective bargaining, they are divvying up a pie of 100% between only two entities. The WNBA is divvying up a pie between four entities. And the fact that that the league itself and the players only have access to 42% of the revenues, the best that the ladies can get is 21% because of how the league is structured.
Correct.
So I don't think that too many people understand that. It's not just about the revenues, but even if they were making money, they would never see the money that the guys do because the NBA doesn't need to be subsidized.
Right. Well,
right? The league is subsidized partly by a group of investors, outside investors, but also the NBA owns 42% of the league because the only reason why the WNBA exists is because the NBA made it so. The NBA paid money from their own revenue that they got, not from the women's game, but from the men's game to create and then continue to subsidize the existence of the WNBA. So when you're talking about the money that comes in, you can't just say, well, we've got a TV deal that's worth ever so many $1 million. We should instantly get the money. No. You guys will get 21% of that deal. So while the next collective bargaining agreement will probably see the players get a little more money, it still won't be anywhere near where the NBA players are playing. And that's the first thing that I wanted to touch on before I go into the other stuff.
Well, my thing is, though, just basic economics 101, right? If your business is losing money, because let's just make that very, very clear. They have not been in the black when it comes to profit ever in its entire existence. Now, starting out a league, there's going to be expenses, there's going to be costs. I can understand that. It's going to take time to develop. But the WNBA has been around for a while now, and it's just continued to function at a loss. And the only reason still in existence is because the NBA feels pity for that league and they want to support it, right? Because without, let's just call it what it is, without the men, there would be no WNBA. That league would have folded a very long time ago because of, and we could go into the logistics of how they started and how they were far too big to scale to start out, yada, yada, yada. But we're just talking about the nitty gritty. It's a league that's still like, this is one of their better years. There's still what, 40, $50 million in the hole?
Yeah, I think they're losing even more money than they were before because they're spending more money than they did before to try to get the players to stop whining about, accommodations and air travel and those types of things. So they spent more money, but they're making more money, but now they are spending even more money than, so the difference is messed up where they're now losing $40 to $50 million a year instead of $20 million a year.
Well, and the crazy thing to me is that they're losing money. It's not profitable. And if I was those WNBA players, I would shut the fuck up and just take the money and run and just play the game you love. You make more than most Americans make. And you can complain, oh, it's only 80,000. We had this talk on the phone call, right? The median income is far less than that. So I don't want to hear, oh, I'm living above my means, whining and complaining. It's like, you're a WNBA player. You don't even play the whole year. You have sponsorships, advertisement, things of that nature. You could get a job on the side if you had to, right? Just like back in the day when the NBA was very, very young and it was struggling to get profit, right? You had those players having second jobs. Like the NBA wasn't their only gig, right? So I see a lot of complaining from these players, whereas they should be very appreciative that they're making money in the first place. Because you have AAA baseball players, AA baseball players barely getting by that have far more attendance than you do, right? You know what I'm trying to say? It's just so ungrateful. I
mean, you think about it, Cap. WNBA players make way more money per made layup than the men do.
I mean, listen, we have the background. We have we have Angela Brick Reese in the background, but like it's. And listen, I think women can have their game. There can be people that enjoy that game. I think they've been far too stubborn with the evolution of their game and like kind of being open to suggestions to improve the game, right? That's neither here nor there, honestly. But
I disagree with you on that, Cap. A lot of the proposals that I've seen amounts to putting lipstick on a pig. The core gameplay is still not going to be entertaining. If you lower the rim to 5 feet, it's just the dunks are still going to look awkward and stupid. I mean, here's the thing, man. You touched on this earlier about the men struggling to grow their game. Mm-hmm. The WNBA is roughly 28 years old. If you think about when the NBA started in the late 1940s, and then you scale that up to 28 years. 28 years after the NBA, and remember, the NBA didn't have women subsidizing their league who were more popular than them.
Right.
Right? They didn't have that. They
got it right out the mud.
Right. They got it right out the mud.
Yep.
They were not on television to begin with. A lot of it was like delayed radio. And then there were no sponsors. And they were not even on live television at all. In fact, even during the heyday of the 1980s that everybody looks back so fondly upon, the games were on tape delay. I mean, we want to talk about all these Hall of Famers of the Lakers and the Boston Celtics. They couldn't even get on live TV.
Yeah.
So, the early 90s, the late 80s, early 90s, with the rise of Michael Jordan, when the league finally really started to make some money, I mean, what were they doing? Michael Jordan was making, 1/100th of 1% of the revenue that the NBA was able to generate off of his name and likeness. Right. And how did they repay him for it? They fined him because he had too much white or too much red in his sneakers or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, back then the players, even in the 1990s, they did not have the rights to free agency. And
Right.
we're talking about 30, 40, 50 years of the league's existence. And the players just did not have the rights to go where they wanted to go when they finished their contracts. The team still held control over them, something that the WNBA players know nothing about. So all of the hardships that the men had to go through, if you want to talk about real equality, how about you go through all the hardships that the men went through? The women have not had to go through those hardships. They're on live television from day one, from when they started, what was it, 1997? They've been on live television. They've had opportunities to get corporate sponsorships. But the fact of the matter is that they want to scream about equality while skipping all of the hard work and the difficulties that the men have had to go through. And it's really a microcosm of what we're seeing out there in regular everyday society, where women want equal representation in the boardroom, but I don't see them wanting to be alongside the men in equal numbers in the sewers clearing out fatbergs. They don't want equality there. They just want to share in the spoils at the end. And I think that people are largely tired of that, which is alienating people who might have been curious about the WNBA product. Now we're like, especially me, now I don't want to see any of it at all. I don't want to see it at all.
So, and I'm speaking from a minority standpoint here because I'm in a black-owned business. I'm a white voice. So I can speak to, feeling a little bit, bottled in and like having to be careful in the dangerous spaces. But no, no, like genuinely, I'm an idiot for that. But I think when it comes down to it, all in all, I think people would get behind the WNBA if the players weren't just so whiny, right? If they weren't so complaining, if they were appreciative of what they got. I will say there was an LA Sparks player, Cameron Brink, came out. She had like a very positive, like, I'm not going to complain about the money because the league, we're not making money as a league. I'm grateful for what I'm getting, right? If there was more of that attitude and less entitlement, like, okay, we'll give it a chance. I just think as a whole, and just kind of how the WNBA started out and how they've been as a business model, they started far too big at scale, right? Like they were in far too big arenas. Should have been more of a grassroots program where they start in small arenas and then kind of have like those fan base that kind of they're with you throughout the mud, like in the mud, in the thick of things. It's actually one of the reasons why I really respect what another women's league has done, the PWHL has done. They didn't start at playing at Madison Square Garden or the TD Garden. You know what I'm saying? They didn't start at this massive arenas. Like
they didn't even give their teams names.
Yeah, like they just had cities. I remember the one in Boston, and I went to a game in UMass Lowell, which by the way, Lowell is like hour and a half west of Boston, but they played at UMass Lowell and they played there, and it was fine. It was like good games. It was entertaining, and they kind of found a nice audience, and the crowd it was filled up stadiums. Is it like a 17,000, 20,000 stadium? No, but you get a few thousand people, you get dedicated fans. They were very smart with how they did their streaming. Like they stream their games online on YouTube and Twitch and things of that nature. And it's crazy. You're having the PWHL set records for women's sports when it comes to attendance. Now, I would also argue, I do think the PWHL, when it comes to product on the ice / field or court, is better than the WNBA's, even though
I want to touch on that a bit, Cap.
Even though it's in its second year of life, but it's impressive. Like when you build the right way and you do things correctly, I think there is a way for a women's basketball league to succeed. I feel like they keep stumbling over countertops or like those. You know what I'm saying? Like they just keep stumbling over their own feet. It's crazy.
Well, I do want to touch on that when you're talking about the PWHL. I've been trying to think about the sports that we've allowed to go to the professional level here in the United States of America that have a women's version and a men's version. And I've been trying to I've been trying to see how the WNBA and its relation to the NBA, and I'm talking about the entertainment value of the WNBA compared to the NBA game. And then when you look, do the women have a baseball league? No. Do they have a football league? No.
No.
Okay, now we have a hockey league. Okay. So you start to think, okay, how well does the product mostly correlate or compare to the men's product on the basketball side versus the hockey side? And then if you want to go to other sports to kind of like prove the point, you look at women's gymnastics versus men's gymnastics. You
Right.
look at women's swimming versus men's swimming, right?
Right.
The product that you get from the Olympic level female swimmers, obviously they're not going to swim as fast as the men, but the competition level is very high and good compared to the men's. I would argue that women's gymnastics is more entertaining than men's gymnastics, which is why it's more popular, probably draws more sponsors too. If you look at women's soccer versus men's soccer, I think both of them are really boring. But my overall point being is you want to skip to the payday, but you don't really seem to be focused on how you can make the game better organically. Michael Jordan didn't come into the NBA talking about we need to get paid more. He went out there to beat the crap out of his opponents.
Right.
He went out there to go beat the bad boy Pistons. He didn't have the ability to demand a trade from his team or to demand that his team trade for certain players.
Right.
Right? He tried to get Scottie Pippen paid and couldn't get him paid because Jerry Krause held all the cards.
Yeah.
He didn't complain. Well, you know what they did? When they went to the collective bargaining agreement, they say, hey, we've got a product that everybody wants to see. Now you're going to have to give us at least 47% of the revenue pie, or else we're not going to play. We're talking about the strike in 1999. We want our free agency rights. We want this. We want that. And if you want to lose all these billions of dollars that you're now going to have access to because we made the league popular, then, hey, we don't need to play anymore. But they got that deal done, right?
Right.
And now even more money is getting paid to the point where you're getting guys in the NBA who are making more in one 5-year contract than Michael Jordan made in his entire basketball career. People don't know this, but Michael Jordan only made a total of $90 million over 15 of his 15 seasons. You got guys making that in 3 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely insane how well that the NBA game has come along where they can afford paying these luxurious or I would say lavish lifestyles for these players.
And is Michael Jordan complaining that the players are making so much more money than he did? No. But the women haven't even had the chance to make even more money, and they're already complaining about players in the future making more money than them. Like the selfishness and the entitlement and the delusion is what's turning me off, man.
You know, it's interesting too, right? If you're an NBA player, you got to feel some type of way about them complaining about any type of revenue, right?
Because Draymond Green.
I mean, yeah, Draymond Green, like he kept it all the way real with that one player. It was kind of funny in that interview. I think if you had an NBA player have a truth serum, there'd be far more along Draymond's thoughts than anything else, because think about it. Whether it's big or small, that's cutting into the NBA players' revenue that they could get a little bit more money. You get what I'm saying? So it's like they're subsidizing this league, and it just seems like they're not even grateful for it. And they even they even insult some of the NBA players when they try to be nice and shout them out on Twitter, right?
Oh yeah, I saw that too. Oh, we don't need your support. Or when a guy is going to root for them, I'm not interested in dating you and all this other stuff, and they throw their rainbow alphabet mafia stuff in there, and everything that they do is so incredibly unlikable. Like why would I ever want to watch?
It's, and I'm not going to go with the whole alphabet soup shit, but because there's a lot of conversations regarding some of the culture around the WNBA. But I agree. It's just, man, it's such an unlikable league. It's crazy, right? Like, that should be a league that people like root for, and it's just they're so unlikable for the most part. There's some likable women in there, like Kelsey Plum. Yeah, I mean, sure, there's some women in there that have good personalities, but overall, it
Caitlin
just seems.
Clark shuts the fuck up and plays too. Got to
Yeah.
give her credit.
Yep, Caitlin Clark, she kind of shuts up and plays, even though the WNBA hates Caitlin Clark, or like not the WNBA, but the players in the WNBA hate her and are jealous of her for multitude of reasons, which I think is ridiculous. It should be like a Jordan thing where it's like, okay, this is a marketable star. Let's use this star to.
Nah, we got to do that crab in the bucket thing.
Crab in the bucket?
Yeah, we got to do that crab in the bucket thing. Like if we're not the reason that the league is successful, then we're going to tear down the ones that are trying to make the league successful.
That took me a second, bro. Listen, it's again white voices in white minority voices in black spaces. It takes me a second, but no, like it's entertaining because like, when you look at Caitlin Clark, like all her games, I think majority of her games are now going to be nationally televised, right? So
I heard I saw something that one of the commenters on your original video, that link will be in the description of this one. He said that 41 out of the 44 nationally televised games are Indiana Fever games.
Yeah, so it's because they and it's smart
They're
though.
definitely trying to make back the investment. They're like, we want to make back some of our money.
And that's the thing. It's smart, right? They should just understand what the situation they're in, and just it's to me when it comes to this league, they just come off as so ungrateful, so full of themselves, and it's the funny part too is like they can complain about men supporting and the lack of men's support because that's also been some of their complaints. I would also argue, first off, men support the league, but secondly, women have failed the WNBA more than anybody. Like,
yeah,
like women. There's far more women in this country than there are men, right? And there's women that watch sports. If that was going to be successful, you would need women to kind of wrap their arms around it, and that just really hasn't happened. And I would say, in comparison, when I see the PWHL, it kind of like, you know what I mean? It just showcases that when you act a certain way and you promote a league in the correct way, and you don't come off as arrogant or entitled, and you just, you're very humble, right? You can be a very full of yourself in private type person, like, oh man, I'm the shit, man. You don't know, these people don't know shit, like in private, but like in public, appear a little bit humble, a little bit gracious.
Right.
It's just, I don't know, man. It's to me at this point, if I'm the WNBA shouldn't be in existence at this point. And if they strike, I'll say this: if they strike, nobody would fucking care.
Favor.
Nobody would care.
I would throw them a ticker tape parade, man, and we can make these huge banners that say, "Congratulations, you tried."
Like, legitimately, nobody would care. And it's like there's fan favorites and people that sure you want to see exposure, and I'm hoping for the women they kind of figure it out, but. To threaten a strike, like you have to have a demand first.
I mean, first of all, stop threatening me with a good time. That's number one. Number two, when you kind of look at the mentality of the players, because it's all between the ears. It's all between the ears. Mm-hmm. When you look at the people who are the most successful in show business, these are people who wanted to be the very best at the craft. Other people recognized them and threw money at them.
Right.
But then you have people in show business who they want to be a star. They want to be wealthy. And then they go into the field with the reward as the foremost thing in their mind.
Correct.
And so it would be a lot like a rapper saying, I'm going to go be a rapper now because I see that they've got all the jewelry, all the women and all the cars and the big houses. I'm going to go be a rapper because of that. And then you get mad when you go double plastic because you were not trying to be great. You didn't want to be great first. You wanted to get paid.
Yeah.
You wanted everybody to talk about how great you were. You were not really as concerned about actually being great. So you're mad because that rapper over there got all the Grammys and got all the record sales and all the money, but they were more dead set on being the best. And then the reward came. And I think that that's what we're looking at in the WNBA. Now, I can't speak for all the players, but the loud minority of WNBA players who are squawking, and then you have the silent majority that has not done much to counter the entitled rhetoric and narrative that they're putting out there. Well, guess what? Those people are now hijacking your public image. And if you are a woman that is a WNBA player and you have a reasonable take on your pay situation and your travel accommodations, but you're not saying anything, well, guess what? We all think that you think that now, and we're, some guys are actively rooting for you to fail.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I wouldn't go that far. I hope they figure it the fuck out, but show a little bit of grace. That's all I'm asking. Like, your league's not making profits, never made a profit, and you have black men supporting your league, and the only reason why it's succeeding. Just keeping it real. So.
I mean, succeeding,
Well, not succeeding, alive, breathing, on life support, on a ventilator.
And those are the guys that they shit on the most. They shit on the black men the most.
I mean, we here...
Let's not get too much into that.
We here on TSP are black owned, so we support black voices like me in this space. But so, anything else you want to say? Anything else?
Yeah, I think that some people might think that my opinion here is racist, but I guarantee you that it is not. When I compare the WNBA to the PWHL, it is not a skin color thing. It is not even really so much a sport thing, except that, one's product is a little bit closer to top tier than the other.
Right.
Not by much, but it's a little bit closer.
Yeah.
When you are introducing a product to the market, you have to introduce that product in a way that is most palatable to the target audience.
Right.
And everybody is held to that standard. Not just white men or white women or black men or black women. Everybody is held to the standard. You cannot go into a market and offer a product that nobody wants and blame the market. You have to figure out how you can tweak your product or your presentation of the product.
Right.
Or the people who are representing your product, customer facing, to figure out if you can get more people to watch your content. Like, look at us on TSP. We've been stuck at under 2,800 subscribers for over a year. Why? Are we going to say that it's the viewers' fault why we're not getting more views? No. Is it the viewers' fault why they don't seem like they want to hit the like, share, and subscribe button? No, it's not the viewers' fault. We have to figure out a way to be more compelling so that people want to watch our videos. We're not going to blame the viewers for not watching us.
I mean, well,
that's the way the world works.
We got to be a little bit more consistent too.
Well, what? I mean, can we get Angel Reese to be a little bit more consistent in making layups? Can we do that?
I mean, listen.
But now, Cap, one more thing. We've heard women talk about how they've brought men in to practice with. Oh, well, he's got a thing between his legs, and so I'm not going to box out. So you are not going to practice the fundamentals of your sport that would improve the product because you're afraid that, one of your secondary sex organs might touch, or come into close proximity with the primary sex organs. Then don't bring the men in. Practice against women. Practice against women if it's really that big of a deal.
Well,
you're not willing to sacrifice anything. Oh my God, a guy might touch my butt. Oh my God, it's the worst thing that could ever happen to me. Okay, cool. Practice against the women, and it'll be 5 or 6 or 7 more decades before anybody gives a fuck about your product.
I mean, that's a whole different conversation. I can understand the uncomfortable. This is. I can understand.
Do you want to be great or not? How uncomfortable were you when you were going through juniors?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, true. I'm just saying, I can understand it, but if you want to be great, you're gonna chase that greatness.
That's it. That's it. Michael Jordan was getting beat up by the Detroit Pistons, getting physically, like they were fighting this dude on the court. Did he whine and cry? No, he got in the weight room.
Yeah, he did. He did, because Detroit Pistons were beating the shit out of him. It was crazy. So, but all right, man. I think that wraps up pretty much all our thoughts regarding this subject. Again, if you want to support black-owned businesses, minority voices, look at this. We support this. That's right. We support the black business. That is what we do here. So you make sure you hit that like, you comment some ignorant shit, you subscribe. I would prefer if I saw some less racist comments. I'm just going to say
let's
that.
Chill out with the racist
let's
comments.
chill out with the racist comments.
Please.
But listen, as a white voice, as a white minority in black spaces, it's okay. You can hit that subscribe button and support a black man. Anything else you got to say?
The last thing I have to say is Captain Ball is a piece of shit. We'll see you guys in the next one.